Hey guys, what's up? Hope you're all doing well. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to get that mortgage, in particular for that property that you desire, so that property of your choice. Now this has actually come from one of my lovely subscribers, so a subscriber from my mailing list, and essentially they asked me the question that how can I get the lender to accept the property of my choice and give me a mortgage for the property that I want. So to really address this question head on, it's all about being realistic and practical as a first time buyer. Like, you're under a lot more scrutiny because it is your first property after all, so you really need to be able to show to that lender that basically it's within your affordability and you'd be able to maintain, paying a mortgage on a property of, that value. As a first time buyer, especially a residential home buyer, like, I understand it's easy to get carried away with aesthetics. So you start going on the likes of Zoopla, Rightmove, and looking at properties, potential properties that you'd like to purchase, and you start seeing yourself in these houses and you think, oh wow, I'd really like this. Even when it comes to properties that maybe you can even see are quite pricey, but the likelihood of a mortgage lender giving you a property that doesn't really fit within the bracket of what your salary can afford is unlikely. And so to stand the best chances of getting a mortgage lender to give you a mortgage for a property of your choice, then your choice needs to be realistic. So now, before I go on to talk about the steps that you should be taking to ensure that a lender gives you a mortgage for the property of your choice, I just want to call out that I do have a few other videos talking about mortgages. So the processes, the terms, how to shop around for a mortgage and get a mortgage accepted, all those kind of things. So I'm going to link those videos in the card so that you can also refer to those. So anyway, back to this specific question from this subscriber. The first thing that you want to make sure that you do to ensure that you stand a better chance of getting that mortgage is basically, like, you want to make sure that you assess, like, your employment status and also your income figure. So now, in terms of doing that, the first step that you want to take is go online and use one of those mortgage calculators. Now this is going to tell you essentially the kind of like the maximum property value that you should be looking at based on the fact that lenders will give you X amount based on what your salary is. Now this is a very good first step to take, because then it removes you basically going online and looking above and beyond really what you'd be approved for. In this way, then you won't get your hopes up looking at properties that are too expensive, and basically you can tailor your search to properties of the value that you can actually afford. Now I can understand that this can be a bit of a reality check, because likelihood is that maybe where you wanted to buy is not actually a location where you can afford, and so to be able to get the kind of property that you want, you may need to look further out. But I just feel like it's not necessarily a big deal if you do need to branch out a bit further, as long as you're still able to commute easily to and from wherever you need to get to, and really it's not a place that is miles out from where you wanted to buy in the first place. I think the important thing is getting on the property ladder and getting your foot in the door. And also, more importantly, as long as you buy a property that is, to your taste, somewhere where you feel like, actually you're going to enjoy the place, then I don't think like the location is like, super important. The second action that you need to take is to get yourself a very good mortgage broker. Now, I always talk about, the importance of having a good mortgage broker, because really they bridge the gap between what a high street lender would give you and, the maximum. Like, if you get a good mortgage broker, you'd be surprised at the kind of, offers and deals they can potentially find for you. Like, honestly, really is worth it. I know when I was looking for my first mortgage, when I went to the high street lenders, they were telling me the maximum they could give me was like maybe 10 to 15k less than what I got in the end by going through a broker. So yeah, it's so important to exhaust all your options. Search online, moneysupermarket.com, where else? All these mortgage comparison sites, like, really exhaust all your options, and then in that way you can ensure that you can get a mortgage for the kind of property that you want. The third thing that you want to do is make sure that you have a reasonable deposit saved up. I'd say 10% is good. Now, I know some people may be eligible for the 5% deposit scheme, but it's not going to be open to everybody. However, if you are eligible for that scheme, you just want to make sure that, the interest and the fees that come with the product aren't too crazy and are basically something that you can afford and is going to be worthwhile in the long run. But yeah, outside of that 5% deposit scheme, generally it is advised to have at least a 10% deposit, just because you have better, mortgage products available to you. Also, lenders prefer you to have at least a 10% deposit, because then their risk is less, because you've put up more money up front in the first instance. The fourth thing that you need to factor is the size of the loan or the mortgage. Now, I sort of touched upon it earlier, but yeah, literally, a lender's not going to give you a mortgage if on paper it doesn't look like, you can afford it. Now, it is is a general rule of thumb that, mortgage lenders will give you 4.5 times, your salary. Some may give you 5, but that is not the majority. Like most times it's going to be like 4 to 4.5 times your salary. And so you need to be realistic. You want to multiply, your salary by that figure and sort of see where you line up. If you're trying to shoot for the stars and get a mortgage that is, well above that, then realistically, a lender's not going to give it to you because, it just doesn't look like you can afford it. You don't look like someone that would be able to maintain, paying for that mortgage on a monthly basis, over the period of the term. Area number 5 that you need to pay attention to is your outgoings and your expenses. Now, a lender is really going to look into this. And so you want to make sure that, your outgoings are a lot less than your incomings. Otherwise, you just want to make sure that the lender can see that, after all your expenses, if you were to add a mortgage on top of that, you'd still be comfortable after making all of those payments in a month. So, deducting the mortgage, deducting your other expenses, you'd still be okay and it wouldn't put you into any financial difficulty. You need to essentially be able to prove that to the lender so that they can give you a mortgage on a property. Now, if the property that you desire is not going to allow you to be able to do that, then you need to look elsewhere and find a property that is more, realistically and looks to sit within your affordability better. And now the final area that I want to look at and you need to pay particular attention to is the area of credit. Now this is, your credit score and also your credit history. You want to make sure that you maintain that well. So if there's any credit that you have, make sure that you're responsible with it and you pay it on time. You do not want anything impacting your credit score negatively or leaving a bad stain in your credit history. So now let's further break down the area of credit because, there are a number of subcategories. So the first area is loans and finance. So for example, car finance. Now it's advisable that generally, if you want to take out finance, you don't do it just before getting a mortgage. So if you wanted to get a car on finance, I would say wait until maybe after you've completed on the house purchase, because if you get a car on finance, the lender is going to have to take this into consideration and it's going to reduce your affordability. As well as that, it's seen as an outstanding loan. Number 2, overdraft. Now this is an area that I always warn people about because I just feel like it's unnecessary. It, encourages people to live beyond their means, and especially when it comes to applying for a mortgage, if you have overdraft that you're in, that is debt, okay? That is a loan that you have not paid off and it doesn't look good. Number 3, credit cards. Now, there is no problem with using credit cards, but again, you have to use them responsibly. If you're somebody that has a credit card, you need to be making sure that you're paying off the full balance, each and every month. Don't have a card whereby, you're stretching payments out over months and, you're even racking up interest payments on it. Like, you don't want to do that. That doesn't show responsible use of a credit card. And again, a lender's not going to like that, especially if your other circumstances aren't too favorable. These 3 areas of loans and finance, overdrafts and credit cards all have an impact on your credit score and your credit rating. So you want to make sure that you're responsible with use of all of these. So that actually brings me to the end of this video. Hopefully that has answered the question of how to get a lender to accept the property of your choice and give you a mortgage for the property that you want. As a first-time buyer, it's all about being realistic with the choice of the property that you are going after. I also didn't want to go overboard in this video because I have a number of other videos that talk about, this area, but maybe in a slightly different way. And so I didn't want too much overlap. So as I said, I'm going to link those other videos in the cards, where I'm talking about mortgages, also applying for mortgages and all those kind of things, and they should be of help to you. If you have any other questions, please do let me know in the comments, and also if you have video suggestions, please do also let me know in the comments. Hopefully you found this video useful and enjoyed it. If you have done, please do give it a thumbs up, and also remember to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. So yeah, I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.